All right. Hey, again, to all of our Facebook fans, all of those that are with us in social media, wherever you are, we are grateful today. Today is a great day, and I say today is a great day primarily for a couple of reasons. Have the distinct privilege and honor of, again, working with, collaborating with, introducing, knowing more, fellowshipping with this young man right here by my side, Mr. Chucky Lawrence. That's what he's affectionately known as in our community. I call him a man of impact. He has evolved over years, again, to be a person that's concerned about community, unity, and peace. And he's begun to do that. He wasn't one that just said it. He began to enact things that happened. And so I have the honor again today. Hey, take a minute to like and share, by the way. But I have the honor to talk to him today because he's got a couple things that are about to jump off during the summer of 2025 right here in this community where we've all grown up. We've all known each other. And so I just want to share those things with you. He's going to share a little bit about them. Matter of fact, we got one that's evolving this weekend. The one that's this weekend, again, is the Queen BQ. That's July the 12th. That's going to be happening this weekend right here at New Life Baptist Ministries. It's about women and unity. He's going to talk a little bit more about that, his knowledge about that. But there are two other items that are very hot, as I say, that's going to give you, our listening audience, an opportunity to be engaged. One is coming up here in about 2 weeks. Matter of fact, it is July the 26th, right at the Dr. Rufus Bradley Sr. Mission in the City Community Park. It's called the BroBQ. He's going to unpack that in just a minute. But then following that, I'm giving you these dates because he's going to begin to elaborate. August the 16th, I think this is the fourth annual Kickball Peace and Unity event in the city of Saginaw. It has drawn thousands of individuals. And I say that in all seriousness. I'm not again adding. I mean, if you've been there, it's quite a feat. And so I want to just take a minute to introduce to some, present to others, a good brother that's being what I call an impact agent in our community, Mr. Chucky Lawrence. So, Mr. Lawrence, again, glad to have you. Glad to have you with us. And, by the way, we have a special guest, I believe, that is with us live via cellular phone. So you may hear him pop in just as well. But let me just take a minute to welcome Mr. Lawrence and have him talk just a little bit about some of the things that's going on.
Okay, thank you, Pastor. Again, as Pastor said, we are working together in this community. We know the value of us in numbers. We know the value in recognizing each and every individual or group that's trying to make an impact in the city of Saginaw. And I am very, very graciously humble to be accepted in a working together aspect with Pastor. He does his church, and what they offer to the community is great. So it's very humbling to be accepted into this as a collaborative effort. And as Pastor said, this weekend it's about our queens in the community. It's about the ladies. They will be doing the first Queen BQ. Now, this is just going to be an effort of getting our young women some knowledge, mental health knowledge, some spiritual guidance, some fixing of the crowns, as our women of the community call it, getting together, fellowshipping with one another, just as much as I think it's important for us as men to get together, as we see a lot of the masculinity come into our female mental, and we're losing so much of the femininity that we grew up knowing, and the soft-spokenness of our females in the community, the fighting that we're seeing, and the disrespect in the social media. We need to just get back to where our women are carrying themselves just like women, and there's a lot of great women that are going to be involved with hosting, praying for our young women that day, praying with and for each other, and I think that it's going to be a great deal, and it's called the Queen BQ. If anyone has any questions, concerns, or what have you, if it sounds like something that you would want to be a part of, reach out to my wife, Sharmika Lawrence, Nataska White, Tara Riley, and anybody else that may already have heard about the event or come to the meetings or whatever, Tamika Hart is another great source of information in reference to this event. And we just want to see our women get together, fix their crowns, and promote one another. Then we spoke about the Brobecue. That is July 26th. I thank Pastor again for seeing the vision in the Brobecue. I've often expressed to him that I think that we've lost our position as men in the community. We don't uplift with each other. We don't encourage each other the way we should. We don't support each other the way we should. And so the Brobecue is going to be an opportunity for us to be vulnerable with one another, to be honest with one another, to fellowship with each other, a little bit of competitive competition with 3-on-3 basketball,
Gotcha.
a little cornhole, but then at the same time, we're going to have an area that we're going to call a tent of the tent of vulnerability, which is going to be an opportunity for young men to speak to someone like myself that has made bad choices. I never say mistakes because I knew what I was doing.
Absolutely.
I never say mistakes. I say bad choices. But then stepped away from it after learning and after learning to love me, truly love me and who I am. Those things, I had to grow up, and those things weren't interesting to me anymore. That lifestyle wasn't interesting to me anymore. To be caged like an animal was not interesting to me anymore.
Gotcha.
And so we have to give that, and we have to give our other young men that might want to express that, and might want to cry on somebody's shoulder and tell them how much we want to step away from that lifestyle. We're going to do that on the day of the Brobecue.
Now, before you talk about the August 16 event, I think it's critical just to inject right here, because I think people need to understand, at the end of the day, again, we're all men. We all come from different trainings, different walks of life, different lifestyles, and nobody's perfect. None of our parents had a manual on how to train us. We grew up with different environments, different atmospheres, and because of that, we made choices. And I always say here, particularly at New Life, that our choices, our decisions determine our destiny. And sometimes there again, we can correct those wrongs. Yes. We've done things and we say, okay, I want to correct that wrong, and how can I do that? I can become a contributing member. I can become an impact agent. I can use my experiences to make sure that young men don't ultimately go down the same path. Now, we know that's a Bible thing as well. That's what you're really saying. The Bible says there's a way that seemeth right to a man, but the end thereof is a way of destruction. And everything that you're doing is really emphasizing that scripture. It's trying to help us understand as men that we're all men. We've all at some point went down different paths that did not give us great outcomes.
Yes, sir.
So now what we're trying to do is help people. I like this whole idea that you'll have a tent. There'll be other agencies out there to help young men and men in general, because let's make sure we again qualify that there are some men that are young and there are some men that are old whose decision-making skills have not been the greatest.
Yes.
And they continue to deal with the outcome of that. But what we're saying is, as brothers, number one, we're going to lean on each other.
Yes.
To help us not only get on the right path, but stay on the right path.
Yes, sir.
I always say this: you're never too old to start over. Yeah. And you're never too old to make an impact in life. And what that means is you've got to admit, at the end of the day, hey, I went down some paths that weren't the greatest, but now I'm on the right path. And for the time that I have, I'm going to always try to stay on that path and make a difference. So tell us a little bit about some of the people, because I know you've been involved in a lot of different groups and organizations in the community where you've been impactful. What's some of the things that you're hearing young people say now, as it relates to the challenges in our community?
Unfortunately, I'm hearing too many people say that they're seeing inconsistency and hypocrisy in the old heads, as they call it.
I got you.
Unfortunately, they're saying that they're hearing one thing and then they're seeing something else.
Yes.
I think that is very detrimental to the impact that we could make, is because these young guys, as well as myself, I can honestly say that when I was younger, consistency is what I needed, and consistency is actually what I thrive for the most. And I think that because you're going to always easily find a negative influence,
Right.
it was easier to gravitate toward the negativity and stay there, because once I found that acceptance that I thought I was looking for, I was then scared of stepping away from it, because then who's there for me? I've been left out here,
Gotcha.
before. So I didn't want to step away. But that's one of the greater things I think is going to be the benefit of the vulnerability tent, is for our young men to actually know, I can step away from this and I still have a brotherhood. I still have somebody I can turn to.
And Mr. Lawrence, I think it's critical for us to understand, particularly even as churches, let's understand when we talk about that our churches are void of young people. This is, to me, one of the greatest times in the history of the church where we can be impactful. When you look at our church is not busting at the seams. There is an absence of men in the church.
Sir.
We talk a lot about that, but there's not an effort being exerted to go forward and find them. And what that really means is, there again, it talks exactly what you're talking about. We've got to be vulnerable enough to go out to the very hedges and highways and try to find those young men. We got to create programs. We got to let them come in. I mean, they're not going to come in a suit, because that's not their atmosphere.
Exactly.
But what we've got to do is create an atmosphere where, regardless of how they come in, that we are embracing. And so, one of the calls that I would say to churches right now, and let the record reflect that New Life is willing to partner with any church that's willing to reach out to young men out on these streets, that's up in the midnight hours, that's doing those things, because we have an obligation. These are our young brothers and sisters.
Yes, it is.
And if we look at this again from a biblical standpoint, I keep going back to scripture, Proverbs 22:6 says, train up a child in the way he should go. And so a lot of these young men are really children just in grown bodies that's looking for leadership, they're looking for love, they're looking for discipline, and they're looking for wisdom. And we look at those 3 or 4 things, it will make a tremendous difference in the lives of these young men that are terrorizing communities, that are out doing things they shouldn't do. And I believe the BroBQ is a critical piece that's going to make a difference in some of those lives. Talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, I thank you for that, because without people like yourself, the BroBQ would just be an idea. So we know, and we know that the idea is just as important. The support is just as
Right.
good as the idea. I do believe that, for me, I would want to believe that when young men get around guys like yourself, as a pastor, that's a title, but as a man, it's exemplified.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when you can, trust me, we can see where the respect goes. We can see those that that are more serious than just quoting
Right.
scripture and that type
Right.
of thing. So I think that the vulnerability tent and the opportunity to just let these young men be honest with us, and have the confidence that it's not going to come with judgment. The confidence of knowing that, well, this guy's not going to make fun of me, or he's not going to consider what I have to say or my emotions to be soft and
Correct.
those type of things. It's important to us as young men, because we're raised with this idea that the tough ones, we don't cry, we don't express ourselves. Toughness is in how we ball our face up and whatever, when really, you might have a guy with a grimace look on his face and he's crying on the inside. You know what I'm
Correct.
saying? So I think that leads to a lot of the more violent, assaultive things that we see in our community, is a hurt person hurting a person. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, one of the things I think that we need to certainly make sure that young men know, men, if you will, I think one of the things we need to impress upon them is, we may not have all the answers, which we don't. But one of the things that we can assure you of, and that's one of the things that you've tried to express today and just in your everyday walk, is that I might not have all the answers, but I'm still going to be there for you.
Exactly.
And I think that we need to understand. We may not be able to get you out of the dilemma that you're in right now, but we promise you that we'll always stand by your side. We'll always be there. We'll always say, advice is free. It is. And I'm giving you advice that I would take myself, and I'm doing it because I love you. It doesn't mean I have all the answers, but I will never leave you behind.
Exactly.
And I think part of what you're doing is, again, reinstilling in the people of Saginaw that, hey, we can get together, we can have fun, we can let our hair down, we can be who we are and enjoy each other without there being violence, without there being all types of drama. And one of the things that you've demonstrated over the last 3 years, because this is year number 4, with the kickball piece and unity piece, it has been a tremendous event. Most people still don't quite understand all of it, and that's fine. But as it continues to grow and build momentum, it is galvanizing the people in Saginaw. So talk a little bit about that, what you've done with that over the last several years, who's all involved, because some of this is competitive.
Okay.
With school districts, middle schools, high schools, etc. But the real game plan is you're bringing thousands of people throughout this community who will not connect in other avenues, but they saw a value in this. So talk a little bit about that to us.
Okay, so when I was first thinking about this, I was thinking about, okay, what is simple enough to bring us all together? And then I thought back to my childhood, and I thought about, whoa, kickball. We all played kickball. Having gone to Weber, I can't attest to what happened at the other schools because everybody wasn't as cool as Weber. We had what we called foreign exchange students, and which means we had Mexican American, we had white American, we had some students that were from other countries. We had all of the Wood Streets, we had Bloomfield, Southside, and all those things. And so I didn't really grow up with the whole idea of areas belonging to certain people,
Right.
and then being not allowed to be in those areas. And so we, in the city of Saginaw, we all patronized a lot of the same places.
Right.
And whatever. So this was new to me. So I thought, okay, well, what can we do to bring the city together with all of the crime and the violence and that type of thing, and the divisions in the communities and whatever. So I thought about kickball. And I don't know if a lot of people really realized that until the day they were out there. And everybody, because you got to think about it. If North is out there, if South is out there,
Right.
if Buena Vista is out there, Weber and Central and Arthur Eddy, that encompasses almost the entire city of
Absolutely.
Saginaw.
Absolutely.
And so what happened is exactly what I you know what I'm saying. I know that God gave me the vision, and we prayed over it. And I remember being asked, like, dude, how did you do this? And I'm like, this is not by me. This is by the grace of God. You know what I'm saying? And so to speak in reference to the power of it, I'll give flowers to 2 gentlemen right now. There's a brother in the city of Saginaw. His name is Robert Jamerson. They call him Disco.
Okay.
And then there's Ralph Brooks. And they call him, Rap. Some people call him Red and that type of thing. These were guys that were known for being very tough guys and leaders of tough, groups in the city of Saginaw. But over these last few years and their growth as men, somebody came to me at the game, I think it was last year, year before last, and they literally grabbed me by the wrist and they were like, how did you do that? And I said, what? And they said, dude, look at that. And it was these 2 gentlemen who were mortal at one point in time, thought that they were mortal enemies to one another. One had hurt, Disco, Robert Jamerson had hurt himself before the game and was in his wheelchair. Guess who was pushing him around the park in his wheelchair?
Wow.
And so that was when I knew then that the kickball game was doing what it should do.
Excellent.
And I don't take the credit for that. I give them their credit for their growth, and I thank God that it was put on their hearts to see each other and engage and fellowship with each other in that way to where it was impactful to people around them, because those are the examples that our youth need to see.
Exactly. And I think it's critical for people to understand at the end of the day, you know, we all live in the same neighborhoods. Our kids go to the same schools. And as you said, we shop at the same places.
Yes, we do.
You know, what we have to understand is anytime that we create drama, we devalue the atmosphere that we grew up in.
Yes.
You and I both come from those neighborhoods. I grew up on 14th and Cherry, 14th and James, whichever one to look at it, where everybody was our neighbor. Every kid was like our brother and sister. You know, we learned how to resolve things. We learned how to talk things out. You know, squabbles were just that, squabbles, but they were not life-threatening.
Yes, sir.
They weren't about trying to take each other's life, because we began to realize those things are very elementary. But I think what, again, people need to understand about the August 16th event, just like with the July 26th event and the July 12th event, is it is an effort to build on unity within our community. I can't say that enough. It's really about us becoming reconnected, understanding that we all have the same desires. We want a peaceful community. We want a place where our grandkids and kids can hang out. We want an environment where, you know, our neighborhoods are peaceful. We don't have to worry about, again, the chatter of guns in the midnight hour. We don't have to worry about when we go to a certain restaurant that people are having beefs at that point in time, not when I'm out there and trying to enjoy just a meal. And I think what you've done and what these efforts are is an attempt to help us understand that, yes, we can reclaim, we can jumpstart, again, that community mindset. We are a village. We can make a difference. Now, that does not mean that everybody in the village is always cooperative, all right? And we've dealt with that. We have. But when the community stands together as one, even those individuals will respect and honor the community. So, you know, when you think about the August event, the August 16th event, Kickball Peace and Unity, give a flavor of what people can expect. And then if you could do the same thing again with the BroBQ, just kind of give people a flavor of what they can expect to see.
Okay. So we'll start with the BroBQ. Because I'm going to let the queens speak for themselves on that, because
Okay.
I don't know what they're planning.
Okay.
But for the BroBQ, what you can expect is to see men like yourself, myself, and some other great ones, Dave Parham, Antonio Brooks, Ralph Martin, Brian Pruitt, Jimmy Green, guys who, you know what I'm saying, see the vision and have, made me feel great about embracing the idea of the BroBQ.
Excellent.
Just being out there,
Right.
you know what I'm saying, open to conversation, open to laughs, hugs, you know, engagement and fellowship, a friendly competition. We're going to have an opportunity for our youth to play some basketball with one another. And just to become engaging with one another. You know, yeah, they already know they're going to play for a little bit of money and a trophy, so it's going to be a little bit competitive.
Gotcha.
But they know that you know, love for one another, respect for one another is going to be expected and demanded. Now I will be honest with you about this coming Peace and Unity Kickball. We winning this year. The Weber Wildcats are winning this year. But what you're going to see then, again, is you're just going to see people coming together, a community of people understanding the mission and the value of fellowshipping with one another, putting all kinds of, you know, small differences to the side,
Right.
you know, and knowing what it means for us to be seen as a community instead of a city. You know, a city can exist without us in it.
Thank
You know
you.
what I'm saying? Because if everybody moved away from Saginaw right now, Saginaw is not going to be removed from the map. It'll just be it'll be Saginaw.
Correct.
But with a community is what makes a city great. And so that's what we're trying to do out there that day, is be a great city and as well as a community, and then have people beginning, well, not just beginning, continuing to talk. I have heard so many people say from different places, oh, I heard about that kickball game from Ohio.
Right.
Oh, I heard about y'all kickball game in Illinois and that type of thing. Why? Because Saginaw has always been great. I think that the more we put efforts in like this, the more we can start talking about the greatness that has come from Saginaw and the greatness that will come from Saginaw. You know, and I thank you again, people like yourself seeing the vision. And if we come together, collaborate, you know, and share
Correct.
Platforms with one another and whatever, Saginaw's gonna be great. Saginaw's gonna be great.
And you know, Ms. Lawrence, it's all about, again, reclaiming a standard. And I think it's critical for people to understand what you're doing now. Let's make sure people understand. You know, when you come out there, everybody's not going to be perfect. Let's make sure we understand that.
Of course.
But what we're doing is we're trying to reclaim a standard. And so the vision, as you have carefully laid it out, is all about us evolving over time. Remember now, we're still getting to know each other. We're still learning to trust each other. We're still starting to really understand the standard. And some individuals may not have had a standard in their family, but the more they hang around the community or the village, ultimately they begin to embrace the standard. And so that's what vision is. You know, you got to write the vision and make it plain so that people can not only embrace it, but they can internalize it, they can run with it and begin to live it. So I always want people to understand that this is an evolving project, and we evolve every year in everything. Just having brothers come out to have conversation and be very transparent is very critical. It's one of those things that we don't see often, and I think that's critical. Now, what that also means, and you said this earlier, is that means there's got to be a level of transparency. And let's make sure we understand when we think about successes of Saginaw, yes, we've had some athletic successes, okay, but there are modern, everyday successes in our community,
Yes,
okay?
sir.
Men that go to work every day, that work third shift, that are working 2 jobs, trying to take care of 3 or 4 kids, that's handling their business. Those are successes. And what we want our young people to understand is these are people that you need to focus your eyes on, because those are individuals at the end of the day that make Saginaw the great community that it is. We'll always love our athletes. God bless them. We've got several that have been outstanding down through the years, and we admire them. But what makes Saginaw the great city it is that you've got men that work first, second, third shift, some work
Yes, sir.
all of the above,
Yes, sir.
that are out there cleaning up neighborhoods, that are out there on a halfway broken basketball course, teaching kids how to play. That's sitting on the porch, looking at kids run up and down the street, making sure they understand to respect Mrs. So-and-so's house. That's what that's about. You know, when we think about the Barbecue, which is going to take place at the Dr. Rufus Bradley Senior Mission in the City Community Park, the whole intent of that park, again, was to say to Saginaw that you deserve this. I believe that was part of Dr. Bradley's dream. What we've done is we've just made it manifest to say this park, which has a walking track, it has a life-size chess court, it has other things, and we're doing some construction now. What we're saying to people, we grew up with stuff like this. And what we're doing now is just saying to individuals, you deserve this. You have a right to this. And when you come in here, we expect you to model the standard of excellence. That's really what we want. And so, you know, as you said, people come in and play basketball. You know, there's horseshoes out there. We got a life-size chess court. So, you know, we'd expect some people to take part in that. We've got pickleball. You know, we've got Jenga and other things that people can do. It's really just about brothers coming together. So parents, we want you to send your young men knowing that they're going to be amongst their elders and other young brothers, but the purpose is so that we can learn from each other. So talk a little bit about that so people kind of get that as they look forward to that day.
Okay, well, in that regard, it goes back to what I was saying about the vulnerability tent, the engagement with men who have made bad choices and that type of thing. I myself, I feel like some of the greater value that's going to come from this is I learned one time that if you establish a rapport, you're more than likely not to become enemies. And so, you know, just the value of speaking to one another is something that we're going to be teaching out there that day. I find it very discouraging, and I don't know how to properly identify, have an idea of what makes us look each other in the face as men and look away. I think it's an identity crisis.
I agree.
I think that the more that we engage with and we stay encouraged in fellowship with one another, I think there's a different type of pride that comes from that, and a bolstering of self-esteem, because to me, to look a person in the eye and look away, it doesn't really mean that I value myself too much.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? A lot of times we've been conditioned to believe that that's how we're supposed to act, and that means you're tough and that type of thing. But I don't believe in that anymore.
Right.
I believe that when you make eye contact with another human being, identify him as yourself. You know what I mean? And I know I talk to myself, so why not speak to you too? I'm not gonna lie. I've been guilty of talking to myself. But the thing that we want to see out there that day is just us as men having the courage to demand more of one another, for the courage to have, to check bad behavior. The simple things like, man, pull up your pants.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or, hey, man, I know you heard him speak to you. You know what I mean? Shake hands, whether you win or lose in the 3-on-3 competition.
Right.
Those type of things. Character building is what I want to see happen out there that day. And just have our young men get back to understanding that, it's easier to me, it's easier to teach somebody something before it's forced for them to accept it.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So, I out there that day, I just got a bunch of good men like yourself that I'm happy to be partnered up with in this thing, and I know that I hope that the community brings their sons, nephews, cousins out there. I even want us, as the old heads, as they call us, to come out there and engage with one another. Our young men need to see us engaging with each other too.
There you go.
There's one thing that I know for a fact that we have to do is we got to start acting like grown men in our community. These petty differences that separate us, these disagreements, we have to get back to the point where we agree to disagree, accept each other for who we are, stop judging and stop being so unforgiving, because don't think for a minute that our young men don't see these actions, because they do. Our youth are a lot more intelligent and a lot more perceptive than we think that they are. So we need to be, every bad example started with a bad example. Every good example starts with a good example. And that's what I want us to do out there.
And I think for us, I think what people have to understand at the end of the day is that this is about reclaiming a standard.
Yes.
I think for us as men, we have to understand that we have lowered the standard by permitting certain behaviors and actions into our neighborhood, okay? And so for us, it's about now reclaiming a standard. But let me go a step further, because I think you alluded to this, and let's make sure that parents understand, particularly single parents, single mothers, that will bring their children to this event. Let's make sure you understand this is not a day off. And by that, what I simply mean is this is not a place where you can just drop your kid off and go about your business.
Right on.
Okay, does that make sense? It's not a day off. The expectation ought to be that, hey, you're expecting, and I think parents need to understand this, that you're expecting that there's going to be an outcome. That when your kids come, you're expecting that, hey, you're going to learn something, and that then we need to encourage our mothers to now begin to raise that standard. What did you learn? What am I expecting from you after this? Because it shouldn't just be, I went, I had a good time. No. What did you learn? Okay, now, how can you apply that to your life? And I think our goal, remember now, we're going to reclaim a standard. We've got to make sure they picked up something. But also make sure that it becomes an everyday practice. So parents, I need you to hear that. It's crystal clear. It's not a day off. It's not I get to go shopping while my kid is here. I know he's going to be safe. No, it's about, hey, I'm taking you here because I want you to learn. I want you to glean. And then from there, I want you to begin to apply that in your life. I think that's really part of what we're looking at. Reclaiming that standard is critical. So talk a little bit more about that. I know we've got just a couple minutes to wrap up, but talk a little bit about that so that, again, our media people can understand what our purpose is.
Okay. Well, as Pastor Justice stated, we want this to be something that our youth take something from, um, that they're excited about it, and if if they can be excited about it, they'll keep it. Trust me,
There you
they'll
go.
keep it. So just the idea of how to engage with one another, how to properly introduce themselves to one another, shake hands with one another. Be friendly but competitive, or competitive and friendly. To listen to somebody tell them a story about their actions and their choices and what it led to, and then allow it to be, impactful in their decision making going forward. We definitely want to make sure that, and I've explained this to Pastor before, that if I had my way, I would never see those slave shackles on another black man ever again in my life. Just real quick, if I could, Pastor, I went to try to have an expungement not too long ago, and I went home and I told my wife how it brought me to tears. When they opened the door, I was sitting on the side by the wall where you couldn't see who was coming in, and all of a sudden you heard the shackles. And then you saw like 11 black men being walked in shackles, taking very small steps, ungroomed, hair a mess, hair on their face was a mess, and they were just walking in a single file line with those shackles on, and it just did something to me. And I ask somebody all the time, and this is kind of what motivates me. What is the difference if you think about it, if you close your eyes and you think about it, what's the difference in a prison transport bus and a slave ship? And that right there literally had me in tears when I went home and I talked to my wife about it. And I was like, there's no way in the world, I don't care if you like me or not, that I would want to see any black man or a black child in with that slave jewelry on them again. That's what I call it. I call it slave jewelry.
I got you.
Around their ankles and wrists ever again in my life. So what I'm hoping to be taken from the BroBQ is the fact that, no, I don't want to live my life like that. No, I don't want to be treated like that, caged like that. And I'm going to listen to the men that are out here today.
And I think it's critical for people to understand this is not churchy, and I want people to understand that. This is about community.
Yes, sir.
All right, what you have now is an entity in the community reaching out to brothers that are part of the community saying, let's make a difference. Now, let me quote a little scripture, and I won't quote, just the exact verse, but it says something like this. I was hungry, okay, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was naked, and you clothed me. And those principles are really what we should be doing for our young brothers. I was homeless, and you helped me. I was misguided, but you gave me direction. I think our goal at the end is no brother left behind. It's about, again, reclaiming a standard and making a difference. And this is where churches can come together and say, what can we do?
Exactly.
Not just churches, but other social organizations, fraternities, again, other organizations in our community that are all about community involvement, engagement. This is one of those times where you can come. And remember now, the thing I love about this, Brother Lawrence, is that this is about an organization, an endeavor, an idea that will always evolve and become better as time goes on.
Thank you.
That's what I see. Again, as you do everything is about involvement. Brothers come together for the first time. We're hanging out. We're learning each other. We're trusting each other. We're being vulnerable. It's about evolving over time. Before you know it, you've got councils of elders. You've got brothers now that provide leadership in their communities, on their neighborhoods. We've got brothers now at every elementary school, at the high school, during lunchtime, after school, before school, walking the neighborhoods, walking the halls. What we're doing is showing the impact of what this can do. And so with just the last couple minutes that we have, talk a little bit more about what's on your heart as we get ready for these great events. And let me just lift them again. Again, we've got the sister, I'm going to call it the sister barbecue. Okay, Queen BQ. There we go. Queen BQ. That's coming up this weekend right here. And if there's a weather issue, it's going to be in our fellowship hall. all right here at the church. If not, it'll be over in the Dr. Ruth Bradley Senior Mission in the City Community Park. And then on July 26th, again, now what's our time for that so people get that?
We had decided 11 to 5.
Okay, 11 to
11 to 5.
11 to 5. Queen BQ, same time?
Queen BQ, I'm almost positive the lady said 12 to 4.
24. Okay. So again, we want people to get those times so they know what's going on. Again, the Barbecue, again, 11 to 5 in the Dr. Rufus Bradley Senior Mission and City Community Park. And then August the 16th, we've got the Kickball Peace and Unity Peace, and that's going to happen where?
That's going to happen at Hoyt Park.
Hoyt Park.
Yes,
and what's
sir.
the time on that?
The first team take the field at 11 o'clock.
Okay, excellent. All right, so last things you want to share with the community. Go ahead, talk to us.
Okay. Last things I want to share with the community is I love you guys. My staff, well, I'm not going to say my staff. I'm going to say the staff of POBO, putting others before ourselves. Love you guys for always supporting and being a part of what we're doing. I want to publicly thank my wife for always supporting my ideas, even though sometimes I know I get on her nerves. And I want to thank the wonderful women. A few of the women of POBO are actually members of your church. My little sisters, Tia Mitchell and Rhonda Clark. They're Charlene Orange and just everybody. I can't name everybody right now, but just to tell the community that we're going to continue to go forward in trying to come up with ideas of positive engagement, positive things in the community, things that have positive impact in the community, and then reaching out and making sure that we make a difference to our young black men, so we can turn this corner and truly see a change and lead by example.
Excellent. And, understand again, at the end of the day, we want people to know, so goes the people of the community, so goes the community. I cannot echo that enough. Let's work together for unity. It's about all of us. Us is us. And what that simply means, real simple, is that if we want our community to be a better place where jobs are flourishing, where our kids are excelling academically, it is really predicated on us putting forth the effort to raise the standard morally, academically, health-wise for our communities. Is really up to us. So let's show up in great numbers. Again, July the 12th, the Queen BQ, July 26th, the Bro BQ, and then August 16th at Hoyt Park, again, Kickball, Peace, and Unity. These are events, no cost. It's all about the experience. Come learn. Come be willing to entertain and talk to people. I promise you, you're going to find somebody there that you can connect with that will become a sense of strength, that will help us lay this great foundation in our community. It's about us. It's about us, all right?
Yeah. Last but not least, Pastor, I would like to say something real quick.
Go ahead.
And this is also in reference to positive interjection with our kids. August 8th, my little sister Tara Riley will be hosting our first Kicking It with the Kids kickball game.
Excellent.
That's going to work with the Saginaw Cultural Festival.
Okay.
And so we want our community to realize that we're doing more than just one event.
There you go.
That is going to be positive for our young kids. So anybody that has a competitive child that does not mind working under the discipline of Miss Tara Riley, because she is serious about it now.
Okay, all right.
Please get with Tara Riley and get your children registered for Kicking It with the Kids. Reach out to Kareem Bowen and get your children registered for that, because that's going to be a lot of fun too. And it's another positive, great event for our youth in the city.
Excellent. And ultimately, Saginaw, what we hope, and the surrounding areas, Midland, Bay City, Flint, yes, you're all invited. Why?
Yes, sir.
Because you are part of our community. So it doesn't matter where you are invited. So again, don't forget, like and share. That's number one. But the other thing that I hope ultimately that you will see, Saginaw, is that what we're actually doing is building a summer of enrichment, empowerment,
Yes, sir.
fellowship, unity, and peace. It's an evolving process, and we'd love to sit down to the table with anyone that wants to plan, that wants to help us galvanize our community, because when our community is healthy, our people are healthy at the end of the day, all right? So, hey, thank you for tuning in. Again, Mr. Chucky Lawrence, again, thank you for the great work that you're doing. It is our prayer that God will bless all these efforts and then some. Again, it's up to us to come together, put all of our ideas together, and then begin to mark that across. When we all support each other, we're all successful.
I absolutely
All right.
agree.
All right, so thank you again for sharing these great events. I'm looking forward to them. We know a couple are going to happen right here on this ground, where, again, we're about empowerment and production and excellence, and we're looking forward to supporting, again, the kickball piece and unity piece that's going to happen at Hoyt Park. Saginaw, this is up to us. We can become what we can become when you make a decision that you want to make a difference, okay? So God bless you. That is our prayer. We're looking forward to seeing you starting this weekend. Looking forward to seeing you here. Let's overrun the place. Let's make this a great place where people love to live. God bless you. That is our prayer.